Good morning, everybody, and a happy Wednesday morning to you. Once again, we have a rather long video. I'm sorry to say in this video, because I'm still collecting stuff about the Queen and her birthday, this video is 80 to 90% Harry Meghan stuff. I'm sorry. You guys know how I operate. I'm trying to get it all together for you, okay? So let's just jump in and cover what we have. Let's get busy. Let's go. We're going to start off with King Charles because Buckingham Palace released a sneak peek of his tribute to Queen Elizabeth II ahead of what would have been her 100th birthday. It's a message and it will be broadcast nationwide and across the Commonwealth, and I will bring that to you as soon as I see it. Now, of course, Beatrice and Eugenie will not be participating or having anything to do with the 100th birthday celebrations. And apparently members who would have taken the limelight from the late Queen, like for instance, the other grandchildren, Zara Phillips and, the Earl of Wessex and all these people that were in Prince Philip's 100th birthday, even the non-working members all took part, but that's not happening this time. Well, next up, apparently during some of the time that Sarah's been gone, she's been holed up at a ranch in Argentina that she partially owns. I had no idea. She owns part of this ranch, which is 600 kilometers from Buenos Aires, and apparently her mother, Sarah Barantes, lived there and is buried there. She got the ranch after she left Sarah's father and remarried. All right, next up, we all remember that Meghan Markle is on Masterchef and they introduced her in as royalty, and it's being reported, although I don't believe this at all, that she was actually frustrated that they said she was royalty. Well, my God, she wants everybody to treat her like royalty. And a lot of people have pointed out that she can't cook. So what is she doing there? Supposedly she's mentoring someone. Yeah, right. All right, time to go back to the wellness retreat. Apparently, complaints are coming out almost immediately afterwards from guests at the Coogee Beach Hotel where the retreat was held. Front desk complaints coming in. People paid thousands for a girls' weekend with Meghan, not a 2-hour appearance. They said it was misleading marketing. Now, first she puts up a video showing herself getting ready, trying to make you believe she did her own makeup. We know she brought her hair and makeup people with her. But anyway, a lot of people are apparently asking for refunds. They paid all this money. They were promised a whole weekend full of food, fun, drinks, and activities, and Meghan stayed for 30 minutes. A lot of people, they're saying, were confused. And definitely some weird vibes, because when she went to walk to the stage, Harry walked all the way in front of her, waited for her at the steps, gave her a kiss, and then helped her up the steps. Like, what is that? He couldn't help her walk all the way to the stage. But anyway, I digress. They're saying that what people viewed was going to happen is a mismatch between cost, access, and expectations. Now, tickets were priced at a premium. There were apparently some early bird packages, and the VIP access went up. But what people are saying is that Meghan spent part of the time in the bathroom. She was late getting down there, and then nobody got their individual pictures with her. Instead, pictures were taken in groups, and people were like, what the hell is this? Tell me how you would feel if you paid $500 for a picture with her and other people were getting them for free while she was on the Scar Tree walk. Could you imagine the anger? This is what people are upset about. And then, of course, they put out this promo. Look at the food, look at the drinks, look at the wonderful room. And of course, we know that things just did not go well there. The whole thing was just, from the minute they walked in till the minute they walked out, it was not good. And we know that they didn't sell out. In the final days before the kickoff, organizers were still promoting last minute availability. People there also, there's some backlash, got gift bags, and the stuff in the gift bags is under $200. Remember, some of these people paid from $2,700 to $3,200, and they got a $21 can of edible flowers, $18 lip butter, $4.50 in sweets, a few mid-range wellness products. People are absolutely disgusted, not to mention a bookmark. They also got a $21 candle. I mean, there wasn't, for that kind of money, I would have expected better. So what exactly were Harry and Meghan doing on this tour? Yes, they're royals, but this was not a royal tour. They're saying it was something different. No one seems sure why they were there. Were there supposed to be streets lined with adoring, royalists throwing flowers and waving flags? Well, maybe that's what they were expecting, because there are some pictures that clearly show that there were barriers set up, but yet there was nobody at the events. They both discussed mental health issues. Meghan appeared on Masterchef Australia. They celebrated Australia's social media ban for children. Meghan went to the homeless shelter wearing $48,000 worth of gold and jewelry and outfits to serve frittatas to the women. And of course, wherever they went, the press followed. The events were tightly controlled. No questions allowed, but some people still asked, how much were tickets to the commercial dinners? Yeah, about $3,000. What is Harry like in person? What was Meghan wearing? How much was she earning from putting her looks on One Off, which is that new AI fashion discovery platform that she's invested in? And how much did Australian taxpayers fork out for this? And why exactly are they there again? Well, they really were just there to use Australia as an ATM. The truth is, they were there to boost their personal brand. And the primary way it's being said to measure the success of the visit is whether it helped their brand, because after all, they're not working royals. And again, while taxpayers footed the cost of some of the extra policing needed for the trip, large public gatherings were avoided, not as the articles are saying, to prevent higher costs, but because I think Harry and Meghan knew that people weren't going to come out to see them. Was pointed out is on this trip, they're not reading the room, but then when have they ever read the room? The fact that they were flogging a $3,000 ticket to a wellness retreat is kind of pointless in the current world climate. There's no large crowds like last time, no feeling of love. There was just kind of ambivalence. I mean, it's what they want to be. They want to be loved and adored, but they can't. They want to be royal without the constraints of royalty. And with that, people have noticed that Meghan is using Princess Diana's jewelry during the tour to try to leverage the iconic royal legacy while no longer serving as a working royal. We know that she wore Diana's Cartier tank watch that belonged to Diana. She wore that to several events. It's being said it's cynical. She's trying to borrow credibility and emotional connection to reinforce her image. And Harry, in the meantime, continues to bang the drum about the death of his mother, which took place almost 30 years ago. Now, I hate to say this, but lots of people lose their parents at a young age, and they don't turn into whiny, crying drug addicts. Harry did, though. And with Harry also banging the drum every 5 minutes about how he wants to reconcile with his family, and he's floating out into the ether that he wants an invitation to Sandringham, the two of them have been left off the guest list after this vacation to Australia, and after Harry delivered a series of personal and pointed remarks about his royal life, about the way his father raised him, about the fact that he had to go to therapy. I mean, everything that he said, what the hell did he think was going to happen? Now, when I tell you some people were unimpressed by Harry and Meghan, here's a perfect example. There is a beachgoer who is being praised because this huge group of people was coming at her and she refused to move. She's sunbathing. She doesn't give two craps that Harry and Meghan are walking past. She just wants to be left alone. She's lying on her towel. She's completely unfazed. She's reading a book. She makes absolutely no attempt to get out of the way. She doesn't acknowledge Harry and Meghan even after they notice and point at her. And what people are saying is that is typical Aussie, peak Bondi attitude. Love it. I personally love it. Surely Harry and Meghan noticed that this girl didn't care. All right, let's move on. Another video clip came out of Marcus Anderson sitting eating dinner with Harry and Meghan. I mean, she may have married Harry, but it's pretty obvious Marcus is the husband. It's also pretty obvious that Marcus is being paid for. His flight, his food is all being comped in with what Harry and Meghan are doing. Now, Mark Dolan was on a podcast and he had something to say about Harry and Meghan's trip. And I want you to hear what he said because he was spot on.
What she's doing, there's a few things to say. She calls herself the most trolled person on the planet, in the world. Meghan is the world's biggest troll. She's trolling us. She's trolling the British people by saying that our institutions are evil, the monarchy's horrible, and it was awful when she was a frontline serving royal. She's trolling the British media, who are apparently riven with racism. She's trolling her father, who fought for his life in a Philippines hospital, and she has to gaslight him and say, oh, I've been trying to get his number, but the Daily Mail won't give it to me. I mean, are we stupid? Am I living in another parallel universe? She trolled Piers Morgan, a guy that welcomed her into the UK media scene and gave her great contacts. She meets Harry, and then bang, she ghosts him. Then it gets worse. She organises and arranges for him to be fired from his job as a breakfast TV host by writing to the boss of ITV after he responded to the Oprah interview in which he said, I don't believe a word this woman says, which he was right to say. He lost his job. She's the world's biggest troll. The itinerary. What's the first thing they do? Children's hospital. Then there's the sporting event, the football, and then there's the military honours and the laying the wreath. So we're front loading it with philanthropy and we're good people. At which point, by the way, minutes after landing, the dress that Meghan is wearing goes online to her new AI project called One Off, which is they're calling it the Spotify of fashion, which is a bit unfortunate.
A psychiatrist has now stepped forward basically saying, Meghan chooses to describe herself as the most bullied person in the world. Now let that sink in. Of all the people who have ever logged onto the internet, Meghan claims that she is the one who suffered the most from the cruelty of other people. Not teenagers tormented by content fed to them, not children hunted by predators, not women whose intimate images have been shared without their consent. No, it's Meghan. This is the same Meghan who stood next to her husband at a 550-pound-a-head summit as he told the audience he felt lost, betrayed, and powerless for most of his adult life. As I watched that clip multiple times looking for a flicker of self-awareness, and I saw none. But what struck him the most was that Meghan was speaking to young people affiliated with an Australian mental health organization that works with teenagers that are struggling with anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. He goes on to say their trauma is their story, and the worst thing that ever happened to them is the most interesting thing about them. That's what they're told. And that is a very unhelpful mindset. And yet here's Meghan in front of them doing exactly that, framing her entire life in terms of damage done to her. And there's a pattern here that anybody in mental health will recognize. It's a victim identity or a victimhood mindset. It's the psychological trap where a person, often following a period of real hurt, begins to build their whole sense of self around the injury. The psychiatrist continues saying, I see this frequently and I have sympathy for those who fall into it because the path is so easy to follow. Suffering gets you attention. It explains your behavior. It excuses your mistakes. It makes you the protagonist. The problem is once you've built your house on it, you can't afford to move on and get better. Because if your suffering is your identity, what happens when you stop suffering? So the slogan of modern therapy culture is my truth. Clients are encouraged to speak it, own it, broadcast it. But what gets lost is the idea that there might actually be an objective truth, not yours or mine, but something in the middle. So is Meghan really the most trolled person on earth for 10 years? Plenty of people are pretty hard about her online, but no. It's not even close to being true. And in the meantime, Harry spoke at another event about how he had to cleanse himself of his past before becoming a father. Now, cleanse is a loaded word, as if his own history, his own family were a contamination to be washed off. And this too is therapy talk at its worst. The whole point of good psychotherapy is to help someone integrate their past, the awful, annoying, upsetting, and distressing bits included, into a coherent self. You're not going to purge it. You don't treat your own childhood as something to rinse away like cooking grease. And Harry basically has had so much therapy, he's forgotten what it's for. So what it comes down to is Harry and Meghan are teaching these kids the correct response to hurt is not to heal it, but to monetize it. Meghan can't even look around to realize she has a husband, 2 healthy children, wealth beyond most people's imaginations. She has houses and staff and invitations to stand on any stage she wants to stand on. But if you've built your identity on being the most wronged woman in the world, none of that is any good to you. You need the trolls to keep trolling or your brand bites the dust. Now, Meghan and Harry finally left Australia. They get home and they would like you to believe that their children that are 4 and 6 called up a print shop and arranged to have this welcome home sign strewn across the front. What a wonderful surprise from their children. Are you kidding me? Meghan probably got on the phone on the plane and said to the nanny, hey, we're on our way home. We need some footage when we get home. Do something. Get a sign. Put it up. I'm like, my God. Then, of course, Meghan puts out a video that shows some Australian souvenirs and treats, supposedly for the kids, some candies, picture books, stickers, but makes a point of making sure everybody can see that the letter that's there says Princess Lilibet Diana on it. Because, don't you know that her daughter has the great-grandmother's nickname that was stolen from her and her grandmother's name. Now, as far as how much money they made on this trip, people are saying it is projected they will get $10 million. That doesn't mean that they will. They're saying $1 million for appearance fees and speaking engagements and, the leverage of their brand, that sort of thing. Now, for those of you who might know Shouty Shola, you remember her? She might be in a little trouble. Let you hear what she said directly from her mouth.
I have been interrogated by the Met Police under caution. That's right. Under caution means they read me my rights. You have the right to remain silent and everything else. I was interrogated for allegations of inciting racial hatred and sending malicious offensive communication.
So essentially, she's getting her comeuppance, finally. Now, something else that was brought out, Harry and Meghan have gone back to using SussexRoyal.com. Don't forget that they put out a statement when they left the royal family. This is the statement where they agreed not to use their HRHs, that they have to step back from royal duties, that they're going to lose their patronages, etc., etc. The SussexRoyal.com website said, quote, while there is not any jurisdiction by the monarchy or cabinet office over the use of the word royal overseas, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex do not intend to use Sussex Royal or any iteration of the word royal in any territory, either within the UK or otherwise, when the transition occurs spring of 2020. Well, what does that tell you right there? They're liars. By the way, for those of you who don't know, they've removed that statement from the SussexRoyal.com website. Everything else is there, but not the statement. And finally, you all will be very happy to know that Harry and Meghan tried to worm their way in with the Irwin family. Apparently, they were keen to, get into contact with wildlife conservationist Robert Irwin and his relatives at the Queensland Zoo. And it would appear that Meghan was very disappointed when the Australian family declined the invitation. That an insider said that aligning with the Irwins' conservation efforts was something Harry and Meghan really wanted to get on board with. And the reason behind their decision not to meet with Harry and Meghan is centered on their deep-rooted support for the monarchy. They mean no ill will towards the Sussexes, they said, but at the end of the day, they are staunch monarchists. They are fiercely loyal to the firm. And don't forget that the Irwins, who run the famous Australian zoo founded by the late Steve Irwin, felt that they could not accommodate the meeting, even though they apparently have no personal animosity, they claim, towards Harry and Meghan. Now, of course, let's not forget that Prince William has a professional connection to Robert Irwin because Robert Irwin is an ambassador for the Earthshot Prize Environmental Initiative. He assumed that role in 2024, and he did not wish to give the impression that he was taking sides against William. So He says that the Earthshot Prize is a beacon of hope for all of us who care about the environment, and his commitment to Williams' flagship environmental project weighed heavily in the family's decision. Basically, Harry and Meghan tried to muscle in on Williams' domain with the Earthshot Prize, and the Irwins said, go jump. All right, guys, I'm going to put together for tomorrow all the footage that I'm going to find on Queen Elizabeth and her birthday, as well as what Harry and Meghan decided to do on their birthday. Nothing shocks me anymore, let me tell you. All right, so there's going to be a lot coming up on Thursday. You're not going to want to miss it. So don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wishlist, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.